Hi friends, welcome back. I am DJMontague, and today we are talking about the endgame loop for Throne and Liberty, what it looks like to be max level, what are you doing on the daily, what are you doing on the weekly, and just like events and stuff, and what takes up your time and what can you enjoy in the endgame. Let's get into it. So, let's start off with the first thing you're really going to interact with. You get this, I think at level 10 or something like that. You get it really early, but it's your contracts. Your contracts are like your dailies in general. They've actually, since the opening of the game, lowered the amount of contracts you get a day and increased the rewards of them. So instead of getting 15 in the beginning, you now get 10 and you get better rewards. So it makes it a lot less of a time sink on your daily activities in the game. And also they can stack up to 60. So you can have 6 days where you don't do anything. And then on the 7th day, you create a bunch of work for yourself like God did, I guess. But yes, you can save stuff up and not lose any progress over the course of a total of 6 days. It's not a terrible system. I feel like because this game doesn't incentivize having alts like Lost Ark does, it gives you enough currency and enough materials to kind of level up your items little by little every day. You'll also get items from this called a lucky pouch, and it's like a random chance to get some purple items. Now, there's a ton of items in the list of purples that you can get from here, so it's really hard to isolate and pick which one you want. But if you get lucky, you might be able to get something that's sellable in the auction house for a good chunk of change, and some whale comes by and is like, I want to buy that, and then now you're rich. It happens. We've seen some stuff from that lucky pouch sell for upwards of 15,000 Lucent, which in real life dollars is quite a bit. So that exchange of currency going over to a free-to-play player is pretty good for doing dailies. I like it. Next up, we have dimension tokens. Now, these are your late-game dungeons, so to speak. There's, I think, 6 of them. I think there's 5 or 6 of them, 2 of which are a harder version of a couple dungeons that came before. Some new ones as well, Butcher's Canyon, Tyrant's Isle, such and such. These are actual dungeons with actual mechanics. Now, at the point that we're in now in the end game, about a month and a week in, I would say, about a month in, we are breezing through these dungeons a lot easier. Now, the community of Throne and Liberty has learned the mechanics of a lot of these dungeons and know what they're focusing on and know the dungeons that they're aiming for and the gear that they're aiming for, and they've really isolated and gotten into speed running these things. In the beginning, these are pretty hard, and I do want to put up some guide videos on how to adjust the mechanics of these, because some of them are pretty difficult. And they do have literal wipe mechanics. So it's always good to be mindful of that when you're going into a new raid, a new dungeon, a new anything, to know the mechanics just a little bit so that you can help or that you can clear. Now, you get 600 of these points a day for these dungeons, and it takes 300 points to open the box at the end of these dungeons. Now, I'm talking specifically about the level 50 ones here. The level 40, 30, and 20 dungeons take a different amount of currency to open those chests. We won't talk about that because that leveling experience is pretty fast if you are trying to min-max and breeze through it. But you get 2 chances normally. Now, this just got updated. This is recorded on January 2nd, January 3rd in Korea. There's a new patch going live today. There will be an increase of 300 extra currency at max level that you get a day. So you'll be able to run 3 dungeons and get loot 3 times. And this will be able to be saved up to 4,500 tokens, which equates to 5 days if you saved up every day. Now, it is important to do these because you get good loot from them. You get gems used to upgrade your gear, or you get the actual loot itself that you're trying to upgrade your gear to upgrade into. Some of the purple loot, some of the set pieces drop from these dungeons. There's, I think, 6 or 7 sets that are in the game currently. 3 or 4 of them are pretty meta for most weapons and most classes, quote unquote. So it's always good to run these dungeons. It's just, I've made probably 6,000 Lucent myself just off these dungeons and selling stuff that I've accrued in these. Next up, we've got Abyss tokens. Abyss tokens are a token that you get through guild activities and through other activities in the world, your contracts as well. These are used in the open world dungeon. You also get these Abyss tokens from killing stuff in the actual open world, but they are spent in the open world dungeon. Now, when you go into the dungeon itself, the currency on the top right will light up gold, showing you that it will be used while you are in this open world dungeon. That be Silius's Abyss, Temple of Siliveth, the Ant Nest, or whichever open world dungeon you're looking to join. Now, if you're solo farming these, usually you're getting a good bit of Solent. I think a lot of the people that are farming Solent on the regular are farming and using their Abyss tokens in these dungeons. And you will get a lot of these. I have probably 200,000 worth of stacks in my storage of these tokens. That means I could kill probably 2,000 of these monsters and not see a dent in how many Abyss tokens I'd have left over. That's to kind of give you a rough guesstimate of how much you can do with these tokens. Now, what they do is they increase the experience you gain from open world dungeons. They also increase the amount of Solent you gain, your gold. And I'm not talking by like 10%. I'm talking by like 250%, 300%. Okay? It's quite a bit. Also, this increases the drop rate. Now, it could also be a 300% increased drop rate, but when you have a drop rate of like 0.15% on these purple items that are available in these dungeons, 0.45% is close to 0.5%. So do with that what you will. We don't know the drop rate yet, but a lot of people are trying to data mine this stuff. So there will probably be more information out in the future when this comes to NA. But it is a currency that you can use to try and fill up the time that you're spending in this game with something that is fun. I do like the open world dungeons. And speaking of the open world dungeons, during the daytime, open world dungeons are just a normal place you can just go into and farm in peace mode, basically. In nighttime, these open world dungeons become PvP. Now, the difference between daytime and nighttime, daytime is about 2 hours, nighttime is about 30 minutes. So anytime you're transitioning from day to night, things happen in the world. Silius's Abyss, the first dungeon that is available, actually closes its doors at night. And so you cannot enter the dungeon unless you are already in it as day turns into night, but it becomes PvP. So if you're trying to farm in this dungeon and you're just AFK brain farming and it becomes nighttime and you see some people coming in the room, you know it's now a fight. And generally, I think that's more exciting in these. A few of the other dungeons stay completely open all the time, 24/7. They might close during rainstorms or something like that, but in general, these dungeons are open quite a bit of the time and peace for quite a bit of the time. So you don't have to worry too much about just getting railroaded in your farm spot for 6 hours straight. It's just go in there, farm your stuff, and enjoy yourself. While we're on the subject of open world dungeons, let's talk about the open world events and bosses. So every hour to every 3 hours, you have a list of things that are available in the open world that everyone can do. This includes world bosses, which can spawn in either peace or at war. Some of these are incredibly easy world bosses, so you'll see a lot of people there, and some of them are incredibly hard open world bosses where you'll see a lot of guilds specifically grouping up to do. There is a contribution rating. So the more damage you do, the more healing you do, the more tanking you do on these bosses, more chance you're going to get the gear that drops. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be level 30 and get some good gear. I've seen many a time where we're doing the first 4 or 5 open world bosses, and people that are level 30, level 40 get the best in slot pieces of gear that drop from these bosses. Editor Montague here. I forgot to let you guys know. Also, the first 3 events in the open world will always spawn as peace, so that you're not just running over lobbies and like spawn camping people that are level 12, level 24, or something like that when you're max level. Also, it seems like the first 2 world bosses are also regularly spawning in peace, which is Mordecai and Excavator. Now, I don't know if we're going to get the same treatment over here. That was changed within the first week on the Korean server. And so that's been like that for the last 3 weeks. And I find it to be a much better system, especially when you're trying to onboard new players. You don't want to get them discouraged when they go to an event. They're spending 30 minutes to try and do this event, and then some level 50 comes over and absolutely claps them and steals their lunch, and then they just wasted 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Just keep aware of that. Not every single event will always be alternating between war and peace. Some of them specifically have to spawn in peace. So I highly recommend going to these open world bosses and these events because you get a lot of currency from these. And the currency you're looking for is upgrade currency for your skills or for your weapons. The open world events give a lot of this currency, and the higher you rank in these events, say you go to Hidden Brown Mica and you learn how that event works, and you're going there during peacetime. You can't be attacked by anybody. You just can do your event, farm how you want or as efficiently as you want. And then your placement in the event then gives you a currency back. So if you're like, you know what, I want to farm this event, I get extra Solent, I get extra experience, you can go do that and then get a reward for it. And everybody in the server is coming together for these, especially for the PvP ones. A lot of guilds come together for PvP events because they can then dictate the list of the top 10 players. And it incentivizes these guilds to get more currency under their belt. So these PvP events happen, peace events happen, also guild events happen where specifically an entire guild can win first, second, or third place. Or everyone that is at this event in that guild that gets second, first, third, whatever it is, gets a influx of Marind, which is the currency that most people are looking for, especially to sell for Lucent. So there's a lot to do in an hourly basis in this game. There is a lot of incentive for, if you're just a PvE player and you're not interested in going for these PvP bosses, they will spawn in peace. They will spawn in war as well. So it's like a 50-50 regularly on whether your boss spawns in peace or war, and you have a few times over the course of the day to get a chance to go to these events. The next thing we've got going on is a once a week event for 2 specific bosses that are in the game currently. One that all the servers have just unlocked, which is Queen Bellendir. These are the Archbosses. The other one is Tevent. Now, one of these every week will spawn in war, and one of them will spawn in peace. So every week they're alternating in which boss spawns in which, and they give out a decent amount of gear. They have the contribution, but also they kind of change the way the dynamic of the server works, where you're going to this massive event that everybody should be taking the time they can to go to because of the rewards from these. These are best in slot items. Like, I'm talking ridiculous. Like, Tevent's greatsword is so far and away better than Mordecai's greatsword. It's a little bit better than Adentis's greatsword, but neither here nor there. I'm saying these things are good. And for what's available in the early game in the first month, these items from these Archbosses are very, very strong and highly incentivized to get to farm, get the currency for. Also, while these bosses are spawning or while the event is available, there are other places around the boss that changes dynamically, so you can get different currencies from these areas to contribute to those items so that you can farm them without having to deal with like farming just the boss or waiting once a week to fight the boss, right? There's a lot going on with bosses, open world, events, Archbosses, all that stuff really incentivizes you to just be there and be online to just experience the world all together. And I think that's a really cool way to keep people engaged rather than just coming out with a new dungeon and saying, hey, everybody go to this new dungeon, get the loot, farm it, just go, and it's like a little playground. This incentivizes the worlds to be a playground, and it progresses all throughout your leveling experience and into the end game. And lastly, there is the Milestone System. Now, this is the Encompass system that everything I've explained is in this Milestone System. Basically, the server progresses as a whole, all together. When the server opens up, milestones happen very quickly, and then they happen like every 24 hours. You'll have a new event or a new boss, or you'll have to farm 100 ants or something like that. You all get rewards from this, and then the event opens up. New world bosses. Minazerok has just spawned for us, and we've gone to do his fight, and it's pretty tough and a lot of fun, but that wasn't available 2 weeks ago at all. This is 2 days ago that Minazerok started spawning. So it incentivizes you to keep kind of playing and learning about the world and seeing as it opens up together, and you see kind of the same people going to these events, and you're like, okay, I know that guy knows how to do mechanics. I'm going to follow what that guy's doing, so to speak. Getting to know your server, getting to know the people, and actually engaging in the MMO part of the MMORPG. You're growing together and experiencing the world as it opens up together. And I think this is a really good idea. I know Season of Discovery is doing this with World of Warcraft, and it's pretty cool because it time gates your content, sure, but this whole experience is about camaraderie and the massive multiplayer part of our gaming. It's not just, hey, I'm going to speedrun getting level 50 the fastest. I'm going to get the best gear the fastest because my guild all knows how to speedrun, and we're just infinitely better than you. We're going to get the better gear, and we're going to absolutely shit stomp this server. That doesn't happen as egregiously in this game so far. Another thing with talking about milestones is, as a guild, when these bosses open up to the world, they are also opening up to your guild. Now, you have to have a certain guild level to have these bosses available, but this includes open world dungeon bosses that are really hard to get to. So you can use, as a guild, your tokens, your weekly bosses, to get the specific loot that your guild is looking for. If you're looking to farm Cornelius or you're looking to farm Minazerok, those are available as a guild without any sort of interruption. So this game does incentivize you to join a guild, but they also give you resources and the massive multiplayer online experience, the camaraderie to do so, farm something together, achieve something together. Speaking on guilds, because this is a big part of what happens in the open world and the territory control. Now, there are these things in the world called Boonstones and also Riftstones. Now, Boonstones are a stone that gives you just a normal buff. This could be endurance plus 5%, could be crit plus 5%, this could be 25 mana regen, whatever it is and whatever location it is. These are different locales in the world that have different approaches to fighting, different PvP areas, and they give guilds that capture these areas a buff, and also with the Riftstones, they give them a boss that they can fight every day. If you control the Talus Riftstone, you can fight Talus an extra time every day as a guild. If you control the Azrael Riftstone, you can fight Azrael every day as a guild, as long as you control this. So, these are powerful advantages for guilds to obviously monopolize, but this is incentivizing more PvP. When you have something that strong, that's giving you more gear, more currency, more Solent, more Lucent, then it incentivizes other people to dethrone you. And I think that's really cool as another way of keeping PvP and the world alive. I know there are some people that are posting on Reddit about the issue of alliances and guilds. This is a PvP game. PvP is available, and open world PvP is available in events. Like, PvP happens. And if you're upset that the world is growing around you and forging alliances, and people are saying, hey, we're not going to attack you if you help us take the castle. We know we're going to fight for the castle, and we know you don't have a chance at it. But if you want to fight with us, we'll give you a chance at it. And we can offer, some incentive of, hey, we'll give you the next castle, and we'll fight for it and let you take it next time. Something like that. These are things that happen in the world because these are real world implications in the game. These are real alliances that form between these quote-unquote guilds and generals of these massive armies of players. This is what we're here for, to fight and to conquer territory and to defeat massive defeat massive monsters and explore this world. And the way that the game is evolving, I think they're doing a fantastic job of it. Also with Riftstones and Boonstones, just so you guys know, you can teleport at any time when it isn't in war for free to that Riftstone or Boonstone. Another little incentive to get around the world faster, but usually you're getting them for the buff or the boss. The last endgame thing I wanted to talk about was the castle, and that is the last milestone that opens up. This will be opening at the end of January, beginning of February-ish, and I will have more information on this as we approach. There's a lot to opening the castle itself and defending and attacking it. There's so much information that we don't know about this war that happens, and hopefully they have more castles in the future, therefore incentivizing different fights to happen. It seems like a really cool experience because so far there are a lot of means of attacking the castle. There's a lot of stuff like this. There's a lot of open world skirmishes that can happen. Obviously, the castle will have the Zerg v Zerg aspect, but there are people that just are showing up to create chaos and want to fight other people. They'll show up and try and jump into the town or something like that and try and create some chaos and fight both of the massive guilds that are trying to fight. There's a lot that can go on here with these massive, massive events, and I think that's really cool to breathe life into the server and show that things are happening dynamically. It's not just farm A, farm B, become the strongest, speed run, farm B again. It's more farm A, farm B, fight for C, go to fight D, and then fight over D as a teleport area or a boss that you can continuously conquer over other guilds. To me, it breeds replayability, where you're not just farming the same mythic dungeon 15 times in a row, hoping to get, the best team comp and the best time so you can get extra rewards at the end of the week. I think that is a good system to incentivize people to come back, and it is a competitive system, but that's not a castle that you're controlling as a alliance where you're getting an influx of, say, 4 billion gold and spread that around all the players in your alliance, and then also the lucent that is taxed on every transaction that happens is put into the castle. So that's a massive influx of actual currency that goes to the players. So I think that all in all, they've got a lot of really good systems to the game to incentivize you to keep logging in every day. And it doesn't feel like a chore so far. And I'm going to say that so far because I played Lost Ark for years, and for a long time it didn't feel like a chore. And then one day I woke up and it did. And that's when I decided that I wasn't going to play that game anymore. And that could very well be happening for you in this game. It's about your approach, and it's about your decision making, and it's about what you want from a game. I just wanted to explain and give you the tools to understand what you're going into when you're looking forward to playing Throne and Liberty, or you're looking forward to criticizing Throne and Liberty. That's also important. I know that NCSoft is listening to us. They are listening to a lot of the balance changes that we've needed. They've balanced 4 different patches in the month that this game has been available. It's good to see that they actually give a shit when in the past we know NCSoft has just cared about money. So it's also to note that NCSoft has to care about this, because when they did the original test for Throne and Liberty, they lost a massive amount of their shareholders a ton of money. And we all know that you have to keep the shareholders happy. And so this game for them has to succeed. They've put too much effort into it and too much time into it for this game to bomb. And that's another reason why I think they're listening a lot more than just saying, oh, we're going to do what we think is best and watch this game drop into nothingness. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I really appreciate you being here with me. Thank you. If you want to check me out on Twitch, I'm live almost every day playing Throne and Liberty. I'll be playing some other games in the future along with Throne and Liberty. We'll be doing some Grand Blue Fantasy Relink at the end of the month, and possibly after that, more Throne and Liberty, because of course we're going to keep playing this until I'm tired of it. Comment below if this video has really helped you understand more of what's going on, or if I explained something poorly, you guys can explain it in the comments as well, and help me get the information out there of what is available to new players and veteran players of this game, or new players and veteran players of the genre. Thank you guys so much. I will see you in the next one. Peace.